Namaste, assalamu alaikum, shalom, buenos dias, ni hao, nuwaskeno, akwaba. What up, though? This is the excuse me. This is the weekly meeting of our uNi village, and I am preparing notes for it, so it has yet to begin. But this is it. Um, Scheduled for hour 13, so I begin the stream accordingly. Actually, and as a side note, I'm going to say a blessing because I have some beverages here that I'm going to partake of. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah Ta'ala is on the kiss of some of people and coming back to some of the Batafan about Jab, Batafan, and Muhammad Salman, what's good as a Sigma Society, a Sabis, and British benefit from Chica. She calls me the Batafan, yeah. All right. The hour is 13:17 and it is the day número dos of month número uno of year 123 after the commencement of the Parliament of the World's Religions, year 70 after the founding of the United Nations. It is day dos of the week and day once of the new moon. And this meeting, this weekly meeting of our uNi village is called to order. We begin with a blessing. May all beings be well. And we continue with a recitation of our mantra from the preamble of our compact. And this is it. We, the sentient beings of our uNi village, observe the antiquated institutions and systems facilitating convention, and we believe we can do better. We recognize the historic and contemporary harm we cause each other, and we are dedicated to do better. We are dedicated to reconciliation. The wisdom of our ancestors, prophets, and sages tells us we do better by exercising compassion towards each other and all life. This begins by fundamentally respecting all beings, all life, all phenomena. And this continues through enhancing the wellness of all beings and all life steadfastly as universal citizens. We are better learning that when we do this, we also enhance our own respective individual wellness. Thus, we reconstruct our institutions and systems to be proficiently compassionate and transcendent. This includes our institutions and systems of religion, government, education, health, finance, commerce, socialization, and additionally. We fundamentally challenge previous precepts, theories, laws, and methodologies of selfishness. We declare a new age of compassion, and whilst our new institutions and systems supplant the antiquated institutions and systems, we facilitate this process with maximum peace, humility, stability, efficiency, and compassion. We practice wealth ethos, including ahimsa, ubuntu, veritas, haya, shu, maka, huga, samadhi, shema, shabono, narab. The preceding text is provided for this purpose. Love and peace. And for attendance, Peter Johansson Osisi is on the books. There's an absence of any emergency or urgent propositions, and the minutes from the previous meeting. The previous meeting is convened a week ago on at our quince viente, so almost 2.5 hours after schedule, on day 7 of month of the intercalary period of year 122, after the commencement of the Parliament of the World's Religions, year 70 after the founding of the United Nations, day dos of the week, and day cuatro of the new moon. The blessing is recited, mantra is recited. For attendance, Peter Johansson Osisi is on the books. There's an there is there is a statement that is made regarding the conditions in regards to emergency and urgent propositions. There is a statement regarding the circumstances happening in Lakota land with protecting the water. So there's an absence of a specific proposition made, but there is an announcement about those circumstances. The minutes are read, agenda is read. All business includes vote of co-op update, village experience, including the International Day of Peace preparations, social networking platform, and that's pretty much it for old business. New business includes the activist flats, and all of those are intended to be addressed in this meeting today. and then that's new business. And then for the Wowium Kvitkahik update, or update regarding our Global Federation of Villages, I share considerations regarding or information about connecting with amnesty offices in the respective locations, as well as co-ops, and completing a correspondence regarding our trust compact and with each of these offices. So announcements include the occurrence of Hajj a week ago, as well as Hajj within Islam and Elul within Judaism. The approach, or actually the recent occurrence a week ago of Amavasya within Hinduism and the Upasada Day within Buddhism, as well as the approaching feast within the Baha'i faith, which is this past Thursday, as well as Juma on Friday, Shabbat on Saturday, as well as Sunday worship, and the Interfaith New Year, which is actually yesterday. Yesterday. The Interfaith New Year being based on an interfaith calendar that is a compilation of multiple calendars from multiple traditions, and essentially is based upon the the commencement of the Parliament of the World's Religions, using that as a starting point for counting the years in this nuanced methodology that includes multiple traditions, both lunar calendars, solar calendars, as well as calendars with intercalary periods. So that's the interfaith calendar. And the new year of that cycle is yesterday, which is actually 123 years ago, 123 years ago, is when the Parliament of World's Religions is convened. Recognizing that as a tangible event, a significant, a seminal event, SEMINAL, of pluralism, of cooperation between the civilizations of humanity, the religions and spirituality and beliefs of humanity, as well as the cultures and nations and languages and people of humanity. So there's that. Those are the announcements. Benevolent news. For benevolent news, I sing the Sundance, or a healing prayer from the Lakota tradition, as well as This Little Light of Mine and Lift Every Voice and Sing. The benediction is recited and the meeting is concluded at 15:57, so it's almost half an hour long. And those are the minutes from a week ago. For the agenda today, old business includes an update regarding the Wowium Kvitkahik Trust Compact correspondences, update regarding our vote of co-op, residential co-op, basically the activist flats that I mentioned before, the International Day of Peace, the Village Experience here, and our social networking platform. That's all old business, and then there's no absence of any new business. And for our Wowium Kvitkahik, our Global Federation of Villages update, there's the intention of sharing information about the flag and maybe as well as co-op credits, although that might be covered in the votive co-op update as well. That's the agenda. So with that, we can go into old business. So the first item, old business, is our Wowium Kvitkahik, our Global Federation of Villages Trust Compact correspondence. So within the previous weeks, we at Wowium Kvitkahik, our Global Federation of Villages, find actually offices throughout many of our respective locations, Amnesty International offices, which is actually an intention. It's an objective that is communicated many months ago, with there being some difficulty finding that information directly, readily accessible. And apparently it was there all along. It's just a matter of finding it, and it's found within the past few weeks. So for the most part, there's some locations that require some additional research and details, but for the most part, generally we find contacts in each of these locations. So with that, we are in the midst of sending a correspondence to each of these offices. And that correspondence pertains to our trust compact. And basically, it's kind of like a rapprochement, a diplomatic overture to these offices for multiple that serves multiple purposes to gauge the receptivity, see what the mindset is like, see what the conditions are like in each of these locations, see what the communities are like, what the networks are like, what the activity is like, and so the intention is for this correspondence, and there's a draft correspondence that's already written. It requires some revision, but it's very brief. It's just a very brief, to the point communication that references the Trust Compact. At the risk of inundating with information, but also recognizing the economy of communication as well. So including this as an attachment to the correspondence, and perhaps actually including the actual text within the bottom of the as a footnote to the correspondence, because some people have difficulty opening LibreOffice files. So recognizing that, there's a consideration of including the text there, but that's it. Just a very brief couple, maybe a paragraph or a few lines communication, and forwarding that off. The original intention is to send it in the original or the contemporary language of each location, so that it's easier for the people to recognize, even though there's a very strong presumption and estimation that the people who receive this correspondence have some English proficiency. The consideration is providing respect and providing the effort in communicating the correspondence in the language of the recipient. So I solicit some friends to do actually some very initial translations of just our wealth ethos. But that's some friends are very responsive and very generous in providing translations. But for the most part, many friends are unresponsive up to this point. And so rather than prolonging that process, the consideration is just getting the correspondence out there. So the intention is doing that expediently this week, God willing. And essentially just relying upon Google Translate, sending the correspondence in English, and perhaps sending a Google Translate version in the original or in the local language or the contemporary language as an attachment, or again as an addendum. But if I send it as an addendum, then that's going to be a lot of text as an addendum. So addendum meaning like at the bottom of the correspondence. So again, as a LibreOffice file, and if people need additional version or whatever, provided accordingly. So that said, and people can do Google Translate people selves as well. Also recognizing that a number of the original languages of specific locations, particularly here in the Western Hemisphere, are distinct from the contemporary language, like here in our Cuyahoga area, where traditionally the native tongue is Iroquois or another tribe that is indigenous here rather than English. Same with the land of the Oleani in Berkeley, and the land of the Mayan in Guadalajara, and the land of the Guarani in Sao Paulo. So I'm without Google Translate capabilities at the moment to forward correspondence in each of those languages, and connections with people who may have such proficiency is comparatively modest. All that said, there's the anticipation of that being a long and extended process, and there's a consideration of simply conducting the communication, the correspondence, and comparatively expediently. So there is a continuing interest in continuing to translate Welt ethos into the respective languages, and so there's an intention of following up with that. So I'm making a note of that. But like I say, at the moment, there's a consideration of just relying on Google Translate for the moment, better or worse, and sending the main correspondence in English. there's also the intention of sending it to co-ops as well. And so there's some additional research and details to secure with that. But that is those are the recipients at the moment, the intended recipients. So that's pretty much the big update. Oh no, that's the trust compact. This is other than the Wowie and Kavik update. This is just the trust compact because of its significance. So that is an update regarding that. On to the next item of old business: votive co-op updates. So a number of things happened with our votive co-op. We conduct some modest transactions within the past few weeks. We share some. There are some transfers of co-op credits between individuals and entities and participants. So that requires an increased amount of discipline and regularity with record keeping, as well as again the methodology for making contributions. So and contributions to the inventory. Um, there's the interest. Oh, I should provide that we have yet to meet today. Our meeting is delayed or put back until after our uNi Village meeting, so I'm without an update regarding that. And I plan to share it accordingly, God willing, next week in our uNi Village meeting. But some of the things on the agenda to discuss in our votive co-op meeting today include strength or solidifying and ironing out our methodology for making contributions. One particular consideration, which is rather substantial, is hiring brokers. That seems to be the appropriate word or term. The first term that comes to mind is salespeople, but brokers is increasingly appropriate. But basically, people to go out and find people to make contributions to our inventory, and because I personally have it requires a lot. It requires a considerable amount, and particularly it requires some follow up. It requires some regularity in terms of communication and relationship building, all of which I have less availability for at the moment. And so as a result, our inventory is kind of just floating in terms of the growth of our inventory, and so that's a fundamental aspect factor of our co-op. So it seems prudent to hire some brokers. So what does the hiring mean? Obviously, we have very modest means to provide. The consideration is simply providing co-op credits, which is very tangible. It means people doing the brokering have ability are compensated in the product. So it's essentially almost like there's the consideration of giving a flat rate, a modest flat rate on a part-time basis, a very like side gig type of thing, but providing a flat rate of co-op credits per week, and then providing a percentage of the actual contributions that are brokered, just like a sales gig or whatever. Um, so again, it's other than money. So it only motivates, it only influences or encourages people who are down for the cause, so to speak, and get it and are interested in the premise of the co-op rather than somebody who's just looking for a gig. Um, there's also the consideration of requiring such an individual to actually be a vegan, and to have a substantial background within social justice as well as environmentalism. One, because of understanding, or uno, because of understanding the the factors involved, the culture, the principles, the precepts, the premise of our votive co-op, and being able to articulate that intrinsically, intuitively, but also dos, even perhaps, but also is having credibility. We're dealing with people groups that are very dedicated to specific causes, and so for somebody just to come in and say, "Hey, we're down for the cause," but not be of the cause, it doesn't hold water with people, with groups, and so people need to be able to see other people living it, the brokers living it, in order for the argument of our brokers to actually encourage people to get involved with our co-op. for that argument for that solicitation to be genuine and effective. So that's part of the culture of our votive co-op. So it's a matter of walking the walk, walking the talk, and chalking the balk and everything else. Um, Chalking the balk. Anyway, so that's some update regarding our votive co-op, record keeping, brokers. Um, there's some other issues as well. Um, Building the inventory. I mean, there's additional things about reaching out to local groups, and those are things I said before. But again, those are things that are kind of falling along the lines of the brokers. Um, so yeah, that's it. Um, that's our vote of co-op at the moment. So like I say, our meeting is scheduled in about a little over an hour. So there's that. Next item of old business is residential co-op. So I mentioned before, I think I see it in the minutes. The activist flats. So the idea is basically encouraging activists, people who are down for the cause, to live together, other than necessarily as a commune or an intentional community per se, like all in the same domicile, but living in the same apartment building, flat building, and doing that, being community literally, and all the benefits that are involved with that, but also as a physical community, a neighborhood community, even just in a building, um, retrofitting that building or adapting that building to abide and live the principles of the activism, particularly environmentalism, perhaps even socioeconomic and additionally, but particularly environmentalism. So, working with a steward, a benefactor, an investor, who is willing to adapt the energy infrastructure of the building to utilize renewable energy and be off the grid effectively. And do additional retrofitting that's appropriate, that the co-op deems appropriate. But basically, it's a matter of getting these activists together and willing to agree to live in community with each other, pooling some resources, making it tangible, and using that pool of resources to encourage a benefactor or a benevolent investor to actually facilitate the acquisition of stewardship of a building here in our uNi village. And I'm gonna just throw this out there. This is what it looked like. This is where we at. So, to encourage a benevolent investor to actually acquire the building, the stewardship of the building, per the terms of our uNi village, of our trust compact, and our residential co-op, and to manage that stewardship along the precepts of our residential co-op. So to do the retrofittings or the adaptation and the renovations to the building, but recognizing that the residents also continue to provide a compensation, um, in a proficient manner, in a fair manner, to the investor. One thought is for that compensation for to pay rent, basically, in the terms of that rent, like how much it is, and whether it's rent to own or whatever else. Those are like details that can be ironed out, eventually, God willing. Um, but so but the residents provide compensation to the investor. So it's other than just like some charitable gift, but it's a benevolent investment. Recognizing that it may abstain from having an immediate turnover, or a capital return on investment in a short period. Um, One thought is for the residents to provide co-op credits with our vote of co-op, and that might seem self-serving, but our self-serving is all serving. So it's all part of the same thing. But basically, the idea is again staying away from money. Um, Instead of paying a monetary rent, like $1,000 a month, instead the residents pay maybe like 200 dos ciente co-op credits a month. And again, the co-op credits abstains from having a translatable or a standard exchange rate with conventional currency, because the value of a co-op credit is based upon a kilo of grain rather than any kind of conventional monetary amount like dollars or euros or pounds or yen or dinar or shekels or rand or rupees or whatever else. Um, it is fixed to a kilo of grain. So, but anyways, the idea is the residents pay 200 those co-op credits for the rent on a monthly basis, and the investor can utilize those co-ops as it belongs to the investor. So the investor can give it to people, can hold on to it, and do whatever else. But to get those credits, though, the residents have to provide a contribution to our co-op. So there's tangibility. It's other than just like imaginary fiat money or something. It is tangibility. So the residents are essentially buying fair trade vegan products, purchases in bulk for a vote of co-op in order to pay the rent to I'll describe it this way. The residents acquire fair trade vegan, preferably organic, kosher, halal products for our vote of co-op and contribute those to our vote of co-op. Our vote of co-op gives those residents co-op credits. The residents then utilize those co-op credits to pay the rent to the benevolent investor. Then the benevolent investor can do whatever with those co-op credits. Give it to people, use it to get the inventory, or whatever else. But that's kind of a hypothetical, or it is a scenario that is being considered with this residential co-op idea. So, admittedly, since a week ago, or particularly within the past few days, there's little traction regarding this residential co-op endeavor. I send out some correspondences to local friends, local activists. I get one response back out of about maybe dozen emails sent out and Facebook messages. So it's par for the course as well. That being said, at this point, the consideration is reaching out to activists internationally and just putting it out there. And beyond that, there's the consideration of going to just putting classified ads, going to Craigslist and additionally, and just saying, "Yo, activist residential co-op, let's build it," and just continuing with that. So that's pretty much where things stand. There's a consideration of sending out correspondence this week. Consideration. It sounds well, but God willing, it will be done in an expedient manner. So perhaps this week, it would be nice for it to be done this week. Anyways, all right. Next item of old business: International Day of Peace. It's next week. It's on the calendar. It's next week. So again, it's very modest in preparation and expectation. There are a number of people who communicate a remembrance of it after I pass out the flyer, so that's nice. It's in people's minds at least to a very modest extent, or whatever that can be evidenced directly. So it is happening. It's a thing. It's out there. It's in the ether, and people are responding to it. So it's very modest. So it's happening. So there's that. I should also provide that one consideration is for me to maybe beat out on the drum a little bit. I consider bringing the MacBook here with the GarageBand and playing with some GarageBand loops of international instrumentation from many different cultures as kind of like a tangible experience of International Day of Peace. I already do that as kind of like a dry run to see how it goes. And it's interesting to kind of observe the cosmos, the environment, the atmosphere, the vibe when I do that because it becomes increasingly quiet. There are fewer people that walk by as I do that. I do notice on one occasion when I do a Middle Eastern loop, there is one person that walks by and smiles. But other than that, comparatively few people. I'm uncertain if there's anybody actually. Actually, there are a few people who do walk by during the course of the additional loops, but compared to when I just played regularly or otherwise, the traffic was very quiet during that period. So whether that's positive, or negative, it can be perceived in many different ways. It is what it is. I think in many ways, I think it's kind of like the neighborhood looking increasingly carefully and paying increasing attention and kind of being quiet and saying, okay, what's happening here? Um, and that's already how it is anyway. Just me being me, and particularly when I'm bringing out the drum and being increasingly vocal with the drum. So there's a lot of reading going on in many directions, including for myself, um, such as life. So that's prep for the International Day of Peace. And that kind of segues into the next item of old business, which is the village experience. So I'm still out in these streets and the pathways of our uNi village, amidst the challenges as well. But things are copacetic. The temperature is mild. The vibe is comparatively cool, chill, warm, relaxed. Um, there seems to be an increased experience of familiarity and even comfort and cooperation. I hang out during Shabbat evening out in front of the building here, just sitting in the dark at night, and a number of people walk by, and people seem to be actually. I think there are a number of neighbors who have yet to speak to me or at length with me, and I'm sure I still have an appearance that is somewhat uncomfortable for a number of neighbors. Even well, I'll leave it at that. And that being said, I do think that um, as my neighbors see me increasingly and regularly, amidst hearing the chants and songs and strange languages that come from my windows. Um, I think there's an increased sense of safety and comfort, recognizing that okay, this cat's not gonna rob me or jump me or assault me or whatever else. And so I think there's an increased amount of safety in that respect, and even maybe this cat's looking out. Maybe as long as this cat is sitting out here on the dark on a Friday night, other people aren't going to be robbing me or assaulting me or accosting me either. And so that's part of the purpose for me being there. I abstain from being an official watch. I'm not going to say that. I do have a responsibility, as everybody does, in the safety and well-being of the people here in our uNi village. Um, and I think people in here, my neighbors at this moment now, have an increased amount of awareness of my approach in that responsibility and an appreciation for my existence as such. And the connectivity as well. Again, there's very few conversations. There's an increased amount of salutations and smiles and greetings. And there is also an increased amount of conversations, but it's still very modest. There's an increasing sense of village, of neighborhood, and so that is appreciated. It is definitely an improvement in the past decade. I think a lot of that has to do with the Earth, the universe, social conditions here on Turtle Island. A lot of it has to do with myself as well. But I think there's an increased sense of ease. So there's a consideration of just being increasingly nurturing of that, disciplined with that, and intentional with that. And generous and compassionate and modest with that, and honest. So, anyways, that's the village experience at the moment. That leads us to our next item of old business, which is social networking platforms. So, I'm uncertain if I do this after the meeting a week ago or beforehand, but the social networking platform that I establish, or I established a social networking platform on Sprues. Uh, it is referred to. The name of it is the soul I dare to be. Um, that is actually also a play on words. It's other than a play on words. There's an intentional duality with that. And it. But before I just describe what that is, I'm saying that uNi Village is there's a group for uNi Village. So the consideration is transitioning from the Facebook posts and activity onto this social networking platform. Soul I Dare to Be. But also additional adventures like Votive Co-op, like Asona Ashram, and our Global Federation of Villages are all have groups on this platform, the social networking platform. So there's an increased amount of concentration, intentionality, and there is the intention of transitioning gradually from the Facebook activity to activity on here. So at the moment, there is only uno member. I have yet to even invite anyone. Actually, I do invite one uno person, but I've yet to like announce it. I do announce it. I do share it, but I have yet to promote it generally or even genuinely. I have yet to invite people, send invites to people's email addresses or on Facebook or anything else. Um, it's kind of like letting it grow organically. I'm posting, I'm putting up content, and getting an increased amount of familiarity with the mechanics of managing the platform. Um, and one thing I have to find is what the whether the embedded videos uh, and cause a significant how much the memory is involved in putting up embedded video, so that if somebody watches an embedded video on the platform, whether that chews up the gigabytes that are allotted for a weekly or a monthly period. So I have to look into that further, but at the moment it's less of a concern because there's only one member. So other than that, like I said, I'm getting increasingly familiar. It's very simple, straightforward. It's very basic. Sprues provides a very basic account. It's comparatively inexpensive, so it suffices for the moment. And the consideration is just essentially building a community, basically, and building a community in an intentional and concentrated manner, um, where it's other than just people kind of walking by each other on Facebook and not speaking to each other, but being increasingly encouraged and inspired to actually reach out to each other. Because I mean, it's very analogous to our neighborhood situation in our physical neighborhoods in post-industrial and throughout much of post-industrialized, at least urban, suburban areas, metropolitan areas, wherein neighbors walk by each other, glance, smile, and that's it. The experience of relationship is very modest. It's very lacking. That's in our neighborhood experiences typically. And the same thing is with Facebook. I am friends with, and I have family members, I have loved ones from many different walks of life, from many different periods of my life, from many different experiences with many different interests. All of whom they're the ones who participate, particularly in the Facebook page of Asona Ashram. All of whom are the aggregate of which. Let's see how it goes. This the people who visit the loved ones who visit our Asona Ashram Facebook page come from many different aspects of my life, from many different walks of life, and so um, people visit, but there's few comments, there's few conversation directly between each other. Usually, it's just to me and me back to each one individually. So the experience of community as itself is comparatively modest. Just what it is at the moment is extremely a lot for people to just from. We're talking about from black nationalists to Republicans to um, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, yeah, um, and Baha'is and Christians and all visiting our Sona ashram Facebook page. So it's people from many different walks of life, although albeit a very modest number of people, but it's still very diverse. It's even pluralistic. However, there's little direct exchange, and so it's easier for people to just say to go on Facebook and click, okay, here's a post from Masona Ashram, okay, visit, and then go on to something else. So in doing so, many people may be visiting the page and seeing the post and reading it and doing it on a regular basis. There's a fair amount of consistency with that, which I'm humbled by and I appreciate. Um, and again, it's very modest, but I appreciate it because it's anyway. Um, Yet the actual interaction between people and the relationship building is very modest, and so it's very similar to being neighbors and seeing each other passing by or driving by each other's houses and waving or whatever else, and that's it. So the idea with this social networking platform is establishing an increased amount of concentration and intentionality. Concentration, particularly without the commercials, without all those advertisements and everything that are distracting visually and intellectually, but also ethically. Like when people see ads, people pay less credence to the aggregate of what's being communicated on the screen. So increased intentionality or increased concentration in the experience of community on the social networking platform, but also increased intentionality because Spruce is comparatively a kind of like a standalone social networking website where only cats go there who intend to go there and go there for that purpose. So there's consideration that people who visit the social networking platform of Soul I Dare to Be are doing so because of a direct intention, and so putting forth the effort to do that. So it may involve a reduction in numbers, at least in the immediate run. But there's the consideration that those who do visit are doing so intentionally and with a certain amount of interest rather than just clicking, and going away. So with that, there's a consideration of the increased propensity of cultivating dialogue, conversation, and even relationship amongst those who do visit and read and post and participate. That's some of the thinking, and that includes here with our uNi village, as well as within the different groups that are connected with that. So, soul I dare to be. That's a phrase in and of itself. The soul I dare to be, meaning that the recognizing the transcendent existence that each of us is, encapsulated within our respective material bodies, frames. Recognizing that quintessential benevolence that we each are and that we strive to be. And so that's the consideration is considering the ideal individual that each of us respectively want to be for ourselves, and having the courage, the strength, the discipline to be that. So that's the soul I dare to be. Recognizing what we believe in, what we believe is right, and how difficult it is, to live that, but still being encouraged to do so in one way or another, even just gradually and um, gradually. So that's the notion with soul I dare to be. However, this phrase is actually derived from a specific word that is significant within the activist fronts and in many fronts, that communicates the interest of cooperation, of loyalty, of allegiance, of shared purpose, shared methodology, shared discipline, shared community, and additionally. And so that word is solidarity. So it is the soul I dare to be, as well as solidarity. Yeah, it's strained, but it's there, and I think it's beneficial for there to be some distinction. But the aggregate of that is that we are each striving. We are each striving to be the best we can be, one way or another. Um, and so the consideration is doing that collectively, doing that cooperatively with each other, doing that harmoniously with each other, doing that prosperously with each other. And so that's the idea regarding Soul I Dare to Be. And like I say, it is the platform is basically just a collection of different endeavors and activities within which I am involved, but that are all interconnected with each other as well. So the idea is that those who are interested in one can go to the group page of that one and then participate in the discussion of that one group or that one endeavor, or whatever else. Those that are interested in multiple ones are welcome to do so accordingly. But I mean, it's very less. It's similar to the formatting of Facebook and um, but it's also, like I say, increasingly concentrated and intentional. So, anyways, that's a social networking platform, and the intention was actually to spend the least amount of moments on actually that. But, anyways, that's that. There's an absence of new business, so that takes us to our William Kavitkahick update, our update regarding a global federation of villages. So basically, yeah, it is appropriate for me to mention the co-op credits. Uh, So, the first thing I mentioned is the flag. So we have the flag here, uh, and it is effectively established as this is the official version. There's also a standard version that is just gray on the bottom. So the consideration is that um, the official version is increasingly difficult for people to receive because it has the symbols in it, and the symbols have certain implications: religious, spiritual, national, civilizational implications, and so it's heavier. It's weightier, and in many ways. And so it's increasingly difficult for people to receive. There's increased propensity for people to find it offensive. Um, and so that's the thought behind how it may be difficult for people to receive, and recognizing is there's the consideration that it's increasingly difficult for people to wear, because at the risk of being perceived as offensive, even though the intention is, I mean, this is the intention is simply communicating universality rather than an imperialism or a forcefulness on anyone, but recognizing that it is what it is, and it's weightier. It involves an additional amount. So, um, people such as myself who champion modesty and humility and abstinence from imposition, I have the inclination of wearing the standard flag without the symbols, just the colors. However, there's a consideration of it being important for people to wear the symbols and to share that, and that's without idol worshiping or whatever else, but at the risk of being perceived as such. Um, it's basically just advancing the conversation a little bit further, and a little bit closer, and with all that entails. So the bottom line thought is that consideration, that even for people, including myself, that prefer to be humble and modest and avoid being perceived as an imposition or whatever else, as I wear all these joints. Um, the consideration is that those who have the ability to wear it have the obligation to wear it. And that's for each of us to determine ourselves. Um, but the thought is that for those who can do it, it's beneficial for people to do it, and so that's what I do. I can do it. I perceive myself as being able to do it. Most of the symbols are already included within the Asona Ashram banner that I wear for over maybe a year or so, about a year, a little bit less than a year actually. Um, so um, I perceive I can do it, and so I perceive I have the obligation to do it, and so I do it. Anyways, that's a big thing about the the official flag. So um, you may notice the other flags on here are the uNi village flag and the Asona Ashram flag or the banner. This is I've been wearing this for, like I say, almost a year, and it's inclusion of many of the traditions that are within our included with our Asana Ashram, which is in our uNi village. Basically, just has the Star of David, the Om symbol, the the wheel of Dharma with the eightfold path of spokes, the Christian cross, the star and crescent. I always do that. The crescent, moon, and star within Islam, as well as the Baha'i star. It's difficult to see. The native, the medicine wheel, or the sacred hoop, and then that's actually the yin and yang with the essentially the yin and yang. I'll leave it at that. So those are traditions that are directly involved within our Asana ashram. I wear that for over a year, and I've been sporting it for many years in other ways rather than just wearing a symbol on my neck, because I tend to prefer abstaining from wearing symbols, labels, and drawing attention to myself. But so wearing all of this is rather difficult for me. Oh, this is also the native wheel, and I do that to honor the rightful stewards of this land, um, of Turtle Island, but also of our Cuyahoga area. So this is what I rep. Um, so like I say, I try to abstain from drawing attention to myself, and so it's difficult for me to do this, but I do it because it's appropriate for me to do so. I recognize, and so part of the inner dialogue that I have is again criticism about drawing attention to myself, idol worshiping, or other concerns about temporal expressions and things like that. The immodesty of it, even the spiritual immodesty of it, and everything else. However, all that being communicated, I recognize that within every tradition has its symbolism, and even regarding what people wear. It had there are religiously significant symbols that people utilize. Uh, Many of which are included here. But even when you look at the monk, the robes of a Buddhist monk, those are very distinctive. Those draw attention. Those are distinguished monks in a very visible manner, in a very tangible and surface level manner from others. And that's probably like my go-to kind of example when making drawing comparisons about humility. But the same can be evidenced about Christian ministers, or Orthodox Jews, or Hindu swamis, even the sannyasin, and additionally. So there's some traditions that do or abst- have increased abstention from explicit surface level symbols and distinctive garments and ornamentry. However, just this shirt, I'm promoting. I'm repping a culture. I'm repping even a tradition, even a spirituality, with its very Western styling and everything else. Obviously, with the head wrap, I'm repping something. Although I think many may have difficulty discerning what it is without asking directly. Whatever I do, I'm repping something, and my interest is being inconspicuous and abstaining from drawing attention to myself. However, um, in doing that, I am also acculturating myself to the status quo, and to the transgressive um, to the transgressions that are committed through the status quo. So even just in repping this or wearing this shirt, I'm repping that, and so I specifically wear this to distinguish myself from that, recognizing that this is just a superficial, surface level, material gesture. However, there's something that's intrinsically involved, and even just in that gesture. And yes, I'm still wearing this shirt, and so I'm still connected with all the transgressions that are involved with how these materials are cultivated and how the labor is oppressed, and everything else to provide me with this shirt. I'm still connected with that, um, as I'm working to improve from that. Um, but this is a uh, a communication, and even if it's simply to myself, but it's also to others, of that process of withdrawing from those transgressions, and particularly additional transgressions when we talk about warfare and things like that. When people start bad talking anybody who's repped on this amidst these badges, quote unquote, um, I exist as a an explicit um, protagonist, an advocate for such individuals. Yes. Now on the opposite side, yes, these are small. It may be difficult for people to see, but again, I know I have it. And when people do ask me about it and do inquire, particularly those that are curious and interested and want to learn and say, hey, that looks interesting, and those are saying, yo, what's that cat about? Let me find out, and that whatever it is, I have the responsibility of explaining something about each of these and stating why I am effectively repping it one way or another. Um, and regardless of what my stance or what my standing is in each of these communities, I am an advocate because I have it on my chest over my heart. For whatever significance people glean from that, I consider that to be considerably fairly significant. But again, it's symbolism. Anyway, it is what it is. There's superficiality, but even within the superficiality or the surface level appearances, uh, there's some rootedness, and so um, there's that. Anyways, that's the flag. Well, we on Kavik. That's what's happening with that. Particularly as I'm seeing these Chief Wahoo hats walking around here, and other even the stars and stripes and whatever else, all these other symbolisms, symbols. Um, yes, I include the stars and stripes within that as well. All of that is um, contributes to a an antagonistic, hostile environment, and confronting one symbolism with another symbolism is maybe considered comparatively superficial, but um, for whatever reason, ah, it is. This is what I'm doing, and this is what William Kvitkik is doing, as we each deem to be appropriate and respectively appropriate for ourselves. Um, so, anyways, um, the whole the debate can go on, and it's already gone on long enough with just myself. Um, so, there's one other thing I was going to think about. Oh yeah, I also can provide that effectively. You see that I think I provided an explanation of this already, um, but when I mentioned the Star Spangled Banner or the Stars and Stripes, uh, you might be able to see that there is the star in there, and the stripes are in there as well. So even then, it's still included within this as well. As much as many of us have difficulty with that, it's part of it. It's part of what's included in Earth. So that's what we're repping. That is the flag. Um, I'm uncertain if I explained the colors before. Uh, I'm already late. All right. Well, we're almost done. No, I still got the song, so that's going to take a little bit. All right. For anybody who's watching this, if you want explanation of the colors, I can provide that. If you want explanation of the symbols, I can provide that as well. Um, there's actually a nice. I particularly appreciate the colors, the efficiency, the breadth, the depth of the colors. I appreciate that. Anyways, that's that. Co-op credits. Wow. Okay. So yeah. Um, the other thing with our William Kvickick, um, with our votive co-op, we are there. There's I mentioned before during that part of the old business that um, there there begins to occur exchanges of or transfers of co-op credits. So, and this is internationally as well with friends in locations throughout the earth. So there are people in different locations throughout the earth who have co-op credits for a votive co-op here, where the inventory is here. Obviously, the logistics of that are less pragmatic and thus less tangible, but we are increasingly international, and the terms of our shipping are basically, I think it's FCA and EXW, which basically means that the purchaser is responsible for the shipping, basically, long story short. So it is an actual thing. We have inventory. We have the ability to send it accordingly per people's requests. Those who have the co-op credits, but people have to pay for the shipping. We're working on making that easier. Um, which reminds me that DHL has yet to return my correspondence. Um, that being said, so a person who has co-op credits has to think, okay, how valuable is this? Is it worth me spending this amount on shipping just to get this product? Well, if a person is just getting like a quarter kilo box of rice, it may be less it may be less valuable to spend 10 euros for that quarter kilo of rice. Just even when having the co-op credits and not incurring a monetary cost for the actual product itself. However, if we're talking about maybe a bulk of products and without, again, just using the co-op credits, not spending money on the product, just to pay maybe 10 euros again for shipping for maybe 20 kilos of rice, probably different terms of shipping, but then 10 euros for 20 kilos, that may be increasingly um, interesting and amenable and uh, convincing for people to do that. So again, that's up to each person's uh, uh, prerogative. So as it stands at the moment, the co-op credits are less pragmatic at the moment and less tangible accordingly, but there is potential, particularly because within the past week, our vote of co-op, which I abstained from mentioning before, our vote of co-op recently acquires an account with Ramsden International, which is a distributor of general food products, all types of food products, based out of the UK, but particularly products that are from groups like Suma Co-op. And Suma is a fair trade, vegan, fair trade, I think maybe also vegan, maybe, but it has definitely has vegan products. I'm not certain if it has additional products as well, but specializes in fair trade and vegan. But Suma itself abstains from delivering here on Turtle Island to Turtle Island, but it supplies Ramsden International, which is a distributor, with Suma products. So through Ramsden International, we have access to Suma Co-op products, which is a larger product offering. The terms, the minimum purchase amounts, and everything else are a little bit higher than what's typically found here on Turtle Island. However, it broadens our scope of product offering and contributions that we can broker with contributors to have it accordingly. So we still have to work out distribution costs. The pricing is it's comparatively modest. It's comparable to what is made available through retailers rather than wholesale suppliers. Retailers here on Turtle Island like Thrive Market, Vita Cost, and this other one. Serve actually is probably cheaper than Serve, but Serve specializes in fair trade, I think. This other one. Wow. There's another one. It escapes me at the moment. Um, anyway, so the prices are comparable. The question though is what's going to be the distribution cost. So that's something to discern additionally. And there was some indication there's information you have to like read up on all on it, but that's something that happens this past week, and particularly, I mean, that's something for our votive co-op here in our uNi village immediately in this vicinity. However, Ramsey International delivers internationally, and so in regards to our William Kavitgahik, which is within this update, um, there is the potential of acquiring products through Ramsden International and shipping it directly from the UK or wherever Ramsden is based, where its operations are based. It may have a hubs of distribution, but directly to each of our respective locations within our Wowie and Kavik, rather than us at Votive Co-op here in uNi Village in our Cuyahoga area, shipping it from one place here, then to another place to the person who wants it. So it's increasingly streamlined. It's other than ideal. Again, we're working for direct trade, and so we're still dealing with middle people. But at the moment, it's better than what what is previously established. So these co-op credits are small steps towards that type of economic cooperation. And also, it's appropriate for me to say that the friends that who provide to whom these co-op credits are provided um, abstain from necessarily like buying into everything that we're doing with Votive Co-op, everything that we're doing with uNi Village and what we have Kavitgahik. These are friends that are supportive of work that I do personally, and through that support in providing some things, I provide in exchange as a token of appreciation some co-op credits. So it that's the basic um, that's the basic circumstances. So um, it's 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 comparatively uh, it's comparatively simple and just other than a big deal, whatever. That being said, pretty much everything I do, there's a big deal to it. And so anybody, just people walking by, there's a big deal to it. That may be me, and people may perceive me as having psychotic delusions of grandeur or whatever else. I've already been accused of that. However, it's just a matter of having a certain amount of awareness about the universe, and about there's an absence of accidents, there's an absence of coincidence or anything else. So, whenever somebody talks with me, there are tremendous um, cosmic implications within that. So, I abstain from taking anything lightly. So, anyways, anyway, which is probably why there's only one person viewing this, which is I think the account that I have open. So, that's the co-op credits. Long story long, um, and that's it for our Wowium Kavitgahik update. So we get to announcements and getting ready to wrap up this meeting, which is already over an hour. Announcements. As I mentioned, yesterday is the Interfaith New Year. I already explained what that means and what the year is based off of. There are additional details, obviously, that can be explained, but I just keep it at that. We're in the midst of Eid al-Adha within Islam, which is the festival period or the gathering period, the celebration period after the completion of Hajj for this year. We are also in the midst of Elul within Judaism, which is preparing for the high holy days within the Jewish faith. Purnima and the Upasada Day. Purnima within Hinduism and the Upasada Day within Buddhism are on the calendar for this week. Later on in this week, towards the latter part of the week. And Juma is on Friday within Islam. Shabbat is on Saturday, beginning Friday evening, Friday sunset within Judaism, and Sunday worship is scheduled for Sunday within Christianity. And then next week, actually a week next Wednesday on this calendar is the International Day of Peace, which I mentioned before. And the convening the convening of the next session of the United Nations General Assembly tends to occur about the same period as the International Day of Peace. I have yet to discern what the protocols are in terms of scheduling the GA session, the next GA session. I'm uncertain if there is like a specific regimented stipulation of when that occurs. So I just know that it's about this point in amidst the International Day of Peace. So simply a matter of having that awareness about the political machination of our international community, at least in a comparatively um, surface the surface appearances of it. So, anyways, that's that. Those are the announcements for the next week. That brings us to benevolent news. So, I'm singing 3 songs, God willing. Uh, the healing song from the Lakota tradition, This Little Light of Mine, and Lift Every Voice. Ate wakan tonke hea oe o. Ate wakan tonke hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea hoya waelo. Hea ya. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea hoya waelo. Hea. Ate wakan tonka hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea haya waelo. Hea. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea haya waelo. Hea. Ate wakan tonka hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea hoya waelo. Hea. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea hoya waelo. Hea. Ate wakan tonka hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka hea oe o. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea hoya waelo. Hea. Ate wakan tonka onshe malayo. Oyate zani chimpelo. Hea hoya waelo. Hea. Pila mayela wakan tonka. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little drink of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little drink of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little drink of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Oh, yeah. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. That brings us to the benediction. May all beings be well. And that concludes our meeting of our uNi Village, our weekly meeting. The hour is 14:33. And this weekly meeting of our uNi Village is officially adjourned. Namaste, assalamu alaikum, shalom, adios, zaijian, one, asamodwo. Love and peace.